Welcome to United Nerd Reviews, where we are reviewing The Last of Us Episode 7. Boy, we are so close to the end. We only have 2 episodes left of the season. And, of course, I couldn't think of any other people to talk it with than Mad Mac Monstermind himself. Joel, welcome back.
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. And, of course, we've got the Big Daddy himself, Marcelo. Welcome.
I felt like I needed to do like a big like WWE type of intro and stuff like that. But what,
I mean, you still can.
It kind of came off that way, you know. I felt like I was like walking down the fucking like aisle. What's up, everybody? Let's talk about yet another sad episode. Let's get into it, man.
It's a mixture.
Let's talk about why Ellie is the way she is.
We will. And of course, you guys can talk to us as well, because we're streaming this live on twitch.tv/UnitedWeNerd. You can hang out in the chat, talk with us while we talk about nerdy shit. But of course, if you can't do that, you can watch us live. You can watch us on demand, not live, on podcast services and YouTube at youtube.com/@UnitedWeNerd.
Hell yeah.
Marcelo.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that this was a very sad episode, which I think it's fair to say almost every single episode of this series is somewhat sad.
Is that the theme? Is that a theme here?
It might be. But would you agree that there is also a somewhat weird sense of this kind of childlike wonder in this episode?
Oh, absolutely. So, if you guys don't know by now, if it's your first time listening to us talk, welcome. We're so happy to have you guys here. But we're about to get into some spoilers for episode 7 of The Last of Us. We're going to talk about it. We're going to spoil some stuff. So if you haven't seen the episode, guys, go check it out. It was a great episode. It was really well shot. We'll talk about that. And come on back, guys. Once you've seen it, let us know what you think. Do you agree with our opinion? If you don't, let us know too. We'd love to hear it all. So, yeah.
Warned.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely a lot of, child wonderland type of situation. I think it's the perfect, a kind of a perfect explanation of what this episode was. We got to see what 2003 was, which is so funny because,
yeah.
It's just so funny because like it seems so antiquated to us. We lived through all of that. But for them, it's like an escalator, like that's just, the basic thing is an escalator is like the funnest thing in the world. I will say Mortal Kombat 2 is an amazing game. So I was hyped. I used to play that game as a kid a lot on my Nintendo 64.
The fucking brand synergy going on. And
I know, it was so good, man. But you got to see one of very few times, if not the only time, Ellie was a kid. Like it's probably one of the last times she was able to be a child.
Yeah.
Because she is. I mean, for all intents and purposes, she's a teenager. She's a child. She's what? In the game, she's what? 15, 14? Younger than that, maybe, huh?
She's around 14 years old.
Yeah.
At least by this point, she would be roughly 14, maybe going on 15.
So 14, 15. What were you guys doing at 14, 15 years old? Not surviving an infected apocalypse, that's for sure.
Hanging out with you.
That's right. You were hanging out with me.
We were
not even drumming it, man. We were on swim, having a run every day and then swim and then go to Jack in the Box after. That was our routine at 14 and 15. Pretty much high school.
Yep.
But yeah, by the way, James in the chat, hello. James saying episode 7 was great. I tend to
And
agree
you just
because
finished it too.
oh yeah, that's
What's up,
right.
Jameson?
But yeah, it's one of those things like we all kind of grew up, you know, like you said, Marcel, we were just like hanging out. Like we probably lived the mall rat culture a lot, especially at least like during mid like middle school, high school era. So this was like you said, this is like the first time they actually got to like somewhat be in a regular, even though it was very weird because like all this everything was post-apocalyptic, everything's all trashed and whatnot. But it's like it was so weird because like for other shows, like shows that aren't The Last of Us, you would expect like halfway through, like, everything would just be tension building up to like something just like happening like right out of the gate, right?
Mm.
But for most of this episode, we just get this nice little like, two people going on a date to the mall, kind of thing.
Mm.
And it was sweet. So Joel, I wanna swing this to you since you just beat Last of Us Part One like this past
Mm-hmm.
weekend, right?
Yep. And the Left Behind DLC.
So having played that and then watching this episode, how do you think they adapted the Left Behind story?
Honestly, perfect adaptation. Honestly, it just synergized so well. It just translated so well. Actually, that's a better word to from video game to screen. They just cut out all the unnecessary stuff. They even threw in things I didn't expect to see with little Easter eggs. I was like, wow, they threw in the fucking doll room, right? Like, come on, that shit was creepy. Why'd you throw that back in? But it's just at its core, it's very simple but still heartfelt, right? And it
Mhm.
just what they did was just amazing. Like the cast, of course, Storm Reed coming on, kicking ass. I mean, it just wanted a little more to see what would happen, but they literally, it's just like almost like one to one, boom. Where it ends in the DLC is where it ends with the show. And I was like, wow, they just didn't mess around. So honestly, both amazing. I'm still like stunned how well it translated.
Yeah. And I know we were talking a little bit before we started this episode, but you said you also started playing Uncharted, right?
Hell yeah. Thanks, Marcelo.
You're
So
Owe
welcome.
him that.
so I wanted to pull out my first fun fact of the episode. So there's a scene where throughout this whole day, like Riley is taking Ellie around the mall, showing her like the four great wonders of the mall, kind of
Mm.
thing, right? And she ends up taking her to like the area where she's been staking out in, and it's a macho nacho, right? Apparently, that is a reference to Uncharted.
Nice.
There is, I believe, I forget if it was three or four. It's a very quick, like small, like dialogue about like uh somebody working at a macho nacho when they were younger, and then it's like, oh, just gonna throw it into the because Naughty Dog also did Uncharted, so
Yep.
it's both their properties. So they just kind of like threw it in there. It's like, oh, macho nacho, there you go, boom.
And I just want to say really quick, the difference is fucking the contrast, like action-packed adventure and fun to like dreary dread, counting your ammo, hiding around corners. Also, I don't know if you saw in one of the first scenes where Ellie's, she gets in trouble
Mhm.
with the at the Fedra school, which we really didn't see in the game, but she's talking to the person, he's trying to set her on the right path, right?
Captain
And he puts
Kwan.
down the keys, right? And there's actually a little paw print on one of the keys. I'm pretty sure that's a little Naughty Dog hidden Easter egg. I'm
Oh, is a
pretty
little
damn
Naughty
sure.
Dog logo on it?
Yeah, I think so. One of the
Oh,
keychains.
I'll
I
have
was
to
like,
take a
I
look at
saw that shit. Saw you.
that. So just the design for this entire like set was great.
Mhm.
So I guess to give a little context, um, they were in an actual mall. So they were filming mostly in Calgary uh, for the show, and apparently they just miraculously wound up finding a shut down mall that was actually about to be demolitioned. And so the people that owned the building were just like, "Hey, just do what you want with it. Don't worry about trashing anything. You can do whatever you want with it because we're gonna tear it down anyway." So they pretty much lucked out and got an actual mall that they could play around in. Funny enough, so you guys can like picture the mall from the episode in your heads, right?
Mhm.
Little bit, yeah.
So what if I told you if the whole second story of the mall was all uh After Effects?
What?
Because the
Like,
mall,
Wild.
because the mall that they rented out in Calgary was a one floor mall, and so to make it kind of represent how it looks in the game, their digital effects artist literally made an entire top floor to this entire mall.
Old me. Shit.
It looked great. And
Mhm.
especially just that scene of when they actually in the mall, and then Riley has Ellie go out before turning on the power and just seeing as the mall comes back to life a little bit. That was just a good panned out scene.
Oh yeah.
So Marcelo, since you're the one out of three of us that is the least familiar about the content, at least from Left Behind. Like, what were your overall thoughts of just like the pacing of the episode? Like, did you feel it was just right, or did you feel like it was, you know, it felt like it was dragging anywhere? How'd you feel about it?
yeah. So just really quick, it was a Naughty Dog paw. I just pulled the episode up and
Oh,
scrubbed to
nice,
the scene. So it
nice.
was a
Oh
Naughty
yeah.
Dog paw on the keychain. So good catch, Joel.
Oh
No,
yeah.
I mean, I was okay with the pacing. I think it really showed, this relationship where, where Ellie had already lost the one person that she really cared for, and obviously the title of the DLC really explains it. Left Behind,
Mhm.
and I think it just contrasts to show her growth and how she is definitely not going to do that with Joel. So I think it
Mhm.
set that up really well that she was going to help fight and for him.
Right.
Episode pacing for me was fine. I didn't have any issues with this episode at all.
Mhm.
Um, like I'm shocked that that second floor is digital and
Right.
not real. Like we've come so far with this kind of stuff, guys, that I just don't know. Just reminds me of like how they
Like
film
like the
Mando.
yeah.
Just it's
Oh
all
yeah.
But like
screens.
to actually, because I
Yeah.
just remembered to give context, that whole scene where Ellie's looking out into like the hallway and all the lights coming on, that's all blue screen.
Wow.
Because from in the mall, the actual physical mall that they're in, where the escalator is, that is just a landing for just like one store. Everything else is on the bottom floor, and so they had to like totally just create that entire top floor from scratch.
That's so cool. And
Mhm.
kind of after I saw the episode, I was on TikTok, and a lot of people were posting like comparisons between the game and what was happening in the episode, like the whole photo booth scene. Like
Hmm.
they just everything's so tight to the DLC.
Mhm.
It's just really good. I really liked it. It's just like I told you before the before we started that it's just funny that people were complaining about this episode,
Hmm.
saying it doesn't follow the game,
Yeah.
that it's like, what are you talking about, guys? Of course it does.
Some people didn't play the
The
DLC.
the extended cut, yeah.
Haters were just hating, man. It was just straight like acid and poison.
So, um, the beginning of this episode, you have Joel and Ellie in the house, which struck me as interesting because where Left Behind starts, where it starts immediately after university, um, they're in they're in a separate place. So for, I guess, spoilers for the game and Left Behind, um,
Hmm.
the house that they're in the episode is where they end up staying after Ellie does everything from Left Behind. So when I saw that, I kind of figured, okay, they might be pushing out a little bit of the present day stuff from Left Behind, because how the DLC worked was that, Ellie's trying to find some medical supplies to help Joel, and they end up hiding out in a mall that they find, and then that mall is what's kind of triggering Ellie. Well, that and Joel is what's triggering Ellie to have flashbacks of her time with Riley in Boston. And so just to see that kind of got put to the side, I think is fine, because all that stuff really did was to show how Ellie got a bow. It's just because some scavengers are coming through the mall, and they're trying to hunt down Joel and Ellie, and then just like, she ends up like killing them, and she gets a bow from them, and then that explains the scene with the rabbit later on, which is spoilers for the next episode probably. But
Mr. Wabbit.
but to see pretty much like where Ellie began, which apparently I haven't read it yet. I kind of plan to, but the comic book they made, American Dreams, kind of shows where Ellie meets Riley, and kind of like their relationship before Riley runs away to go join the Fireflies and then comes back. So I don't know too much about that part of the story. So it seems like they kind of sped through it real quickly, because they only had like the scene where Ellie punches out Bethany. It's like,
Mhm.
beat that shit. But yeah, it was like Joel, like you said, it was really cool to kind of see them go through like the big, huge like points throughout the show or throughout the
Yep.
game. They had the part where they take a drink.
Yep.
The part where they go to the carousel, which was like
Yep.
one of like the big set pieces, which apparently
Hmm.
they also lucked out in. They just were able to find a carousel that they could actually use for that mall scene. Um, the one thing I thought was interesting though is because the Halloween store that they go to was one of the first things they did going to the mall. So
Hmm.
it was interesting that they kind of pushed that to the side a little bit, but then they kind of brought it back into the mix near the end where they started dancing, because they had like the masks that were in the Halloween store that they put on. And so it was like it
Yeah,
was a
that
nice
was
little callback.
cool.
It was like, okay, that's
Yeah.
nice. Um, but
Guys,
yeah,
this was a perfect night for these two, except the one
the
little
one
thing.
thing, the one
Well,
thing.
Just the one thing got in the way.
I just want to say two more things.
Yeah, go for it.
The photo booth, of course, we talked about. That was perfect.
Oh,
I
the
like
photo booth.
they did that. They in the game they mentioned Facebook, which I thought was very
Yeah.
funny. They're like, "Oh, what's a Facebook? We could post it to Facebook." And I'm just like, they didn't even mention it in the show. I was like, "Cool, great." And then of course the arcade scene was great too. We talked about Mortal Kombat too. But because they didn't have that license in the game, they had Riley like having Ellie imagine a game, and you play and button mash and do like quick time. So I just thought that was really cool how they reincorporated it, and still Rogers Arcade. Oh man, just the translation is just so good. But
Gross.
yes, one problem that they did keep from the DLC, also they changed it a little in the best way, because when you go to that creepy fucking doll store, right, in the game, the clicker, right, is already dead. And of course they rework it in the best way. It's not all the way dead. They have loud music from the games, and they're having a good time, and of course it awakens. And I was just like, God damn it, this is so good. Like, what a great way to pull the source material and just like
Yeah.
condense it, right, to make it so digestible.
Yeah, it was interesting because like you're saying, that clicker was in the game was from the present day stuff, and it was dead. It wasn't alive anymore. So like, I I remember when they were zooming in on that doll store, I was like, it's like, oh, interesting. Okay, why are they zooming in the doll? And then they show the one clicker, but it's like almost fully like ingrained into the wall. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, and you see it kind of like, it's like
Yep.
wake up. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah,
So
there
good.
was a lot of moments in this episode where I was just expecting stuff to go totally wrong.
Yeah.
Again, not knowing what was
Yeah.
like, I really didn't know what to expect out of this episode because again, I haven't seen the DLC or anything. So I was like, every corner, I was like, all right, when's it gonna happen? We know it's gonna happen, but when's it gonna happen? I was like that the
Yeah.
whole episode.
Slow burn anxiety, man.
The slow burn. The the product placement they had throughout, as Jameson was
Oh
talking
boy,
about marking all the
boy,
product
do I know
Oh,
placement.
about product placements, guys.
oh yeah.
God,
I know how that works now.
GameStop made it to the mix, y'all. It made it there.
We're still
GameStop.
alive, guys.
They had a
Still
Best Buy.
trading in
Dude,
games.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were some clicker employees in that GameStop. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, no, you have to sell people pre-owned games, even though it's the apocalypse. It's
Yeah.
like, motherfucker.
Yeah. Here, I'll give you death if you give me 50 rations. It's like, oh, great! What a great trade. Thanks.
All right. Um, but yeah, it was such like a nice condensed version of that, and I believe, like, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have seen it online. Like, some people have been kind of saying where it's like this episode felt like it was so weird because it's pulling away from the Joel and Ellie story, and it's, they could have used this time better for, the rest of the story, which I can understand where some people are coming from, but at the same time I disagree, just because yes, the story is mostly about Joel and Ellie, but you kind of at some point you kind of have to understand where Ellie is coming from, because we saw Joel's past, and so now we get the opportunity to see Ellie's past and
Mhm.
why that's influencing her reason to stay and actually try to save Joel. And it's because of Riley, because Joel, you kept hinting on it. That clicker ends up finding him at some point when they're dancing in the little storage area. And
Was it a clicker? I mean, it was.
yeah, it was like a runner, but it was one of those ones that was like it was getting there. But like the infected like came in, and of course, they both fight it off. Ellie ends up dealing the killing blow, and then
Mhm.
finds out that both of them are infected. And we get to
Mhm.
see
I
how
love.
Ellie got the bite.
I love that
Yeah.
moment of terror for her when she's just like wiping at her arm, and it's like she sees the bite, and it's like that whole moment of like terror and fear
Oh yeah.
that Bella Ramsey just crushed it. She really crushed that
Mhm.
emotion for me.
Still
And
killing it.
yeah, like it was so powerful. I feel
It
like.
was the look of like, I just had probably the best moment in my life, and now my life is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that she's immune yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then to also see that Riley is also bit.
Mhm.
Someone pointed out when they pan over to the aftermath of that, and you see Ellie like taking a bat and like smashing all the display cases and just like unleashing her anger, and you see Riley just kind of sitting there, like quiet and solemn. It shows the differences between both of them, because Riley grew up with a
Mhm.
family and she lost that family, where Ellie
Yep.
never knew, like, she never had anybody. Like,
Mhm.
in all intents and purposes, Riley is like the first person like Ellie actually that cares about.
Yeah.
And so to see like Riley's always already been there, already's been through that phase of just like unleashing your anger and like, cursing the world for everything that's happened.
Mhm.
But then Ellie, this is her first this is like her first time actually being able to have a happy moment, and the world takes it away from her
Mhm.
instantly. And then it helps form that hardened shell that Ellie has when we meet her. And we already got to see Joel kind of crack that shell open in the last episode, and to have this episode, you kind of see Ellie starting to like recall those memories of those last moments with Riley, and then having Riley remembers like we don't give up. It's like no matter what the circumstances are, no matter if we have 2 minutes or 2 days, like we don't give up. And I think that in this context, I feel like that does more for the story than to just kind of skip over this portion and just like fast forward to, you know, what happens next.
Yeah, and there's really not a lot left in the mainline story game anyways, right? Like at this point, Joel's hurt, but what's left really isn't that much. Like we're so close, and so it's like having this built in as an episode makes perfect sense. You get 9 episodes out of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially now, how many hours do you think are left in the game at this point? If you think about it, just a couple hours, right? Like maybe 2 at most.
2, 3
No,
if you're
there's-
like really scrounging, I guess. I don't know.
I want to say at minimum 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Just depending how you're playing.
Yeah, it depends on how you're playing, but just like
Yeah.
the next part that we're getting to with David, I feel like is the one of the beefiest portions of the game. Because not only, at least for the game's instance, is the rare instance that you get to see the situation from Ellie's perspective, then you switch back to Joel.
True.
And
That's right.
And then you have to go through the whole situation again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know what the runtime for the next episode is, but I'm assuming it's going to be big because we only have 2 episodes left, and if this whole season's supposed to be part 1, like I feel like we're going to be in for a wild ride next Sunday.
Oh, dude. Woo. I am excited. Having just played that part too. Oh, man. I wasn't very stealthy. I was super ape with the shotgun until I couldn't be. But
What, Unga Bunga?
me and El Diablo, we were blowing minds. Okay. It's based on the preview, just the spin they're doing too. You get hints of it. I'll say, like it's kind of culty, but with the preview, it's like, oh, they're gonna like dive in. They're gonna embrace it. Like, ooh, this is cool. I'm down. But yeah, I just thought it was cool too. Having beat the game, one of the lines Ellie says to Joel at the end of the game is actually one of the lines Riley says too at the end of the show, the episode. That's just a really cool reincorporation. I was like, oh shit. So it's just cool how they, again, just pulling from the source material and how it translated so well into TV screen. Oh, just again, a great episode. I don't understand why people are like, this is mid. Like I don't know. I don't see how they see it. I know I'm biased. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so just episode 8 is going to actually be shorter than Left Behind.
Really?
51 minutes. Yeah, 51 minutes.
Damn. They have to condense that thing a lot.
And then
holy
episode
shit.
9 is only 43 minutes.
Episode 9 is the shortest episode.
Just straight chugging.
Yeah, they're gonna open our mouths and stick the spoon in, guys. Just wait for it.
Oh man, I cannot wait to see that ending. Whoa, what's happening? But yeah, that ending, they're just gonna be like, let's go, here we go. This is what you wanted. Boom.
But like, I don't know. I can't see how people can't think that their relationship isn't as strong now as it is in the game. Because like, God, even for like the few minutes that like of just like having Joel in this episode, fuck, like the fact that he was like literally trying to push Ellie away, and then as Ellie was leaving, you could see like the single tear going down his eye, and it's not because of how much he fucking hurt, like his gut hurts. It's from like literally failing and then pushing away, Ellie, like thinking this might be the last time he ever sees her. To have Ellie come back and like try to stitch him up, and then literally like Joel just like grabs her hand, and like just like holds on to her hand for like a good few
Oh
seconds,
man,
like, ah,
the sewing stuff always like always makes my
Oh,
skin crawl, man.
the
That
fact that they
stuff is
show it
oh,
always
too, it's
so
like, no,
brutal.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
no,
so
they
brutal.
did it.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, this was a nice quick review, man. It was just so fun. It was so easy. It was so good. You know, like
Yep.
yeah,
it was cute. You
it
know,
was cute.
for given the not so cute ending of it all. But I think again, it shows the character that Ellie has become and how she isn't going to give up on Joel. You
Hmm.
know,
Yep.
so I mean, I would have loved to seen you know what how it all ends with Riley and stuff. I would have loved to see like
Yeah.
I
everything
don't
after
know.
personally, but
That'd be
I thought they were
rough.
gonna do that, but they didn't.
That'd be rough. Because imagine not knowing that you're immune, and then to pretty much watch at that moment in time is pretty much the love of your life, like slowly just
turn.
transform into a mushroom person while you're completely fine. That must
I
be
see.
rough.
I I want that. I wanted to see that, but it's
Uh,
okay. It's fine. It's not something I'm gonna
but
hang up on. You know.
it's the thought that's intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely an 8 out of 10 cordyceps for me. So
8 out of 10 tendrils.
that's right.
9
Um.
out of 10 fungi.
Okay. Well, yeah. I think that'll do it for this review of The Last of Us, episode 7. Um. Of course, we will be back for episode 8 when it comes out. And if you're here on Twitch, stick around because we are going to be also talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. But of course, if you're
Yeah.
listening or watching this on demand, you can go find that episode on podcast services and YouTube.
Hell yeah.
But until then, guys, do you have any other final thoughts about this episode?
I can't believe this season's almost done. It felt like it flew by so quick, and it sucks that we're gonna have to wait a few years for season 2. And
Hmm.
but I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad that they're doing it right.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
Final thoughts on this episode. I thought we were gonna watch Ellie watch Riley transform and then leave her. That's what I was kind of hoping
Ooh.
to see, but we didn't even get that. Just like I said, just boom, just like the DLC. We just supposed to see him get up, done. And I think honestly that was the best choice. So
All right. All right, guys. Everybody, thanks for watching. And remember, until next time, keep on nerding.